Well, I'm going to try not to be on here too long. But there's so much going on in the news. It's got me horribly depressed because these, and somebody called it the nerd Reich that we're going through right now. And it's really terrifying because Trump really isn't running things. He's being the distracting force. He's saying all kinds of absurd things and making the general ass out of himself. And he's got these EOs that aren't really legal. And he's got he and Musk, they're trying to claim they're going to close down this or that agency. They can't do any of that. And they're going to be stopped from most of it. And then that goddamn vote got himself in there as budget director. I mean, what the hell? My understanding is that the GOP, the reason they're acting so stinking impotent in Congress is because they know this stuff is bad. According to Representative Crockett, at least in the House, they know the stuff that's coming down the pike that's being proposed is bad, but they're afraid of Elon Musk and that he's going to primary them or whatever. He's going to put money in there. That Elon Musk needs to be tried for basically under espionage. And you know, I'm not in favor of the death penalty as a rule. But you know what? I think that all this stuff that they're doing with the Treasury, all of that, should be punishable by death. Any of that that's trying to subvert the government, and we're talking these billionaires like Musk and Thiel, who's the puppet master of J.D. Vance, and Vote, and all of the rest of the Heritage Foundation crowd that are anti-American. They're basically Brooks Brothers terrorists, or otherwise terrorists in Brooks Brothers shirts and suits. And it hasn't even been 3 weeks, and it's a disaster. But they're not going to get away with it. The more people become aware of what's happening, the more of the pushback. And they thought they'd pull this crap with U.S. aid, and come to find out that farmers in Kansas are really pissed off. Because you know what? It ain't all about you, you libertarian morons. It's not all about you. Actions have consequences. And you do anything like try to dismantle an established government agency, it has repercussions. It has repercussions in state and local governments. It has repercussions internationally. It has repercussions in private sector work. It's a domino effect. But these fucktards they're addled. There's some damn Silicon Valley cult, and I can't remember who the idiot is, that's been promulgating this stuff. Another fucktard. Another libertarian fucktard. And they think there's going to be a paradise. They think they could just overrule all the countries and do whatever the hell they want. These people are psychopaths. But they're not going to get away with it. They are not going to get away with it. And then old Trump is stupid enough to go to the Super Bowl Sunday. So that's wreaking havoc with security. And, you know, it ain't going to take much. I keep thinking, is this another version of the Ford's Theater? 21st century style. But it's all, you know, it's all vengeance. He's mad at the Eagles because of his perceived being snubbed by them back several years ago. He hates them, and he hates the Chiefs because of Taylor Swift is dating the quarterback, I guess, the main guy there. And I think she's going to perform there. So he's there. I don't know what the hell, you know, but he's again, it's probably another distraction. Everybody's going to be focused on the Super Bowl, and he wants people to pay attention to him. And meanwhile, Musk and his little gang of elves are going to be busy ransacking the Treasury. Or they're not going to get away with it. I mean, I'm pretty positive of that. I don't even think the administration's going to last 6 months at this rate. But, you know, I can't say how I think it's going to end, but it's going to end badly. And I do think any of this kind of hacking like this should be subject to espionage laws. And anybody that's doing it, Florence ADX or Terre Haute, death row. Okay. But that's all I had to say about that stuff. Because I'm trying not to watch any of that. Because it gets me so damn depressed. And then we've had snow here. So that makes me even more depressed. So I've been home the last couple of days. Supposedly we're going to have late start tomorrow. Going back to work. And, you know, eventually I got to... When family comes back here, I've got to go... look for another place to live because I want to, and places are so damn expensive. I don't know, and I got to be able to have my dog with me, and there's just a lot of shit going on. But I was thinking, you know, with all that gangsterism that's going on in DC, I was thinking, you know, over the course of my life, you know, I think, well, I've had a damn boring life, but you know, I really haven't had a boring life. Not really, because I've come across people, not just regular people, but, you know, famous people too, and also people who are famous for reasons that they shouldn't be famous at all. And I was thinking of 3 cases, and I don't know how long I want to talk about them, but one of them was, I think I mentioned, maybe I did, of that famous or infamous case of Larry McNabney down in Reno, Nevada. He was an attorney. He was a, what the hell do they call that? Oh shit, personal injury attorney. And you'd see his ads on the local television, and he had offices in Reno, and he had offices in Vegas. And he'd be on his horse, and he was into all this horse show stuff. And that's how he would get his clients, through these ads. And he was pretty good at what he did. But, you know, he was murdered. And he'd gotten in trouble with the bar over some violation, you know, like with the... oh shit, I wish I knew all these damn legal terms. But anyway, he was improperly doing things with the employee or with the client's accounts. And so he got in trouble with the bar, and he went to California. He pulled up shop, went there, and then right before, actually the very day of 9/11, 2001, he was murdered. And he ended up being stuffed in a refrigerator, and then eventually he was buried in a vineyard, and his remains were found a few months later, and come to find out it was his 5th wife, I think she was, and she had a very checkered past, a rap sheet a mile long, various aliases, and her protege girlfriend, actually it turned out, named, the wife was named Elisa, which wasn't her real name. It was Lauren Renee Sims, or Lauren Renee Sims, and her girlfriend was Sarah Dutra, and the wife went ahead and escaped with some, I think about $500,000 in settlement money that was earmarked for his clients. And she and Dutra went through all the money, and Sims went back to Florida where her family was, took her daughter there, and then when she was caught, and this was some months after McNabney's death, then she decided to commit suicide while in jail. But it was on a lot of the shows. It was on like Deadly Women, this case. It was on Oxygen. I think that was another one. There was a bunch of them, bunch of cases that they had, a bunch of shows that this was profiled in. There were a couple of books that were written about it. But you know, the creepy thing about it is, I was working at the law library in northern Nevada at the time, and he would always come in. McNabney would always come in, and I'd see him on the weekends because I worked on the weekends. He'd always come in. He was a good-looking guy. He was a lot better looking than he looked in photographs. Very good-looking guy. And he was always real polite. And anyhow, and we would always chat, and we had to make coffee. That was part of our job. We had to make coffee for him when we were upstairs. The law library was located upstairs. And so I guess it didn't kill him. I guess I wasn't that bad making coffee because I didn't drink it. But anyway, he'd come there and chat, and then he'd get his law books, and I'd always have to ask what his name was. You know, here he was. His picture was all over the place. His ads were all over the television. I always had to ask what his name was. And he'd say Larry McNabney. I always forgot. So I never forgot after he passed away, you know, who he was. But, you know, one time he came in, and this was before he left Nevada, after he got in trouble with the bar. But he came in with this woman, and they checked out library books. Again, or, you know, the law library books. And, you know, there was nothing. You know, it was just an ordinary transaction. But come to find out, that woman, who was younger than him, she was thin, she was on the tall side, her hair was frosted. I remember that. And there was nothing, I'm telling you, nothing to indicate that this woman would, a few years later, be involved in killing him with horse tranquilizer. But that was his murderer, one of them. Here he was a murder victim. Here she was one of his killers. And I'm telling you, when you think about that stuff, it's pretty damn creepy. And then there was, you know, and I kept newspaper clippings of the case. I may still have those in storage. When that became really well known, because it was a big story in northern Nevada. It was a big story, as I said, on the media. It was a big story in northern California. And then, you know, and then there was a case here that was recently solved, thanks to genetic genealogy and all of that, of another attorney who lived in Reno, and who also, dealt with as, you know, he was a patron. He came in a lot. And that damn guy, and he passed away a little over a year ago, that damn guy was accused of murder. That was that Tudor, whatever the hell his name. Oh, shit. Yeah. His name was Tudor Chirilla Jr., and this guy had a rather unique appearance. So that's how I remember. I remember the face. I remember him signing, because back then they had to sign a library card upstairs when the law library was upstairs. And I'm telling you, this shit creeps me out when I think about it. But anyway, he was finally arrested in connection with this murder of this 19-year-old woman down in Hawaii back in, what was it, 1972, I think it was. And here he had this legal career. Here he had this everything, all this prominent career that he had. And he was checking out books in the law library. And, you know, when you think about stuff like that, It just creeps the hell out of you that this guy, who I, didn't think 2 cents of it. I just knew he was unique looking. He was kind of creepy looking in retrospect. And you don't ever forget a face like that. Somebody that looks like that. That he was a patron. But anyway, he was, in the process of he was arrested, he was booked, he was all of this, and then he died. Natural causes, I guess. Let's see what it says here. This is from 2023. Yeah, that's how he looked right before he died. Yeah, he died on Christmas Day. So that, yeah. Suspect in a decades-old Waikiki cold case murder has died in custody, according to a spokesperson with the Hawaii Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Tudor Chirilla Jr. was pronounced dead at a local hospital on December 25th, 2023. DOC confirmed an official cause of death will be released pending autopsy. And, this is all old news. But Chirilla was accused of killing 19-year-old Nancy Anderson in 1972 in her Waikiki apartment. The case was originally scheduled to go to a jury trial in February 2023, but was repeatedly pushed back. Anderson was found dead by her roommate in their Waikiki apartment located at 2222 Aloha Drive on January 7, 1972. Investigators say that she had been stabbed multiple times and was pronounced dead at the scene. The case went cold until prosecutors said DNA evidence linked Chirilla to the scene. Chirilla was arrested in Reno, Nevada on September 13th, 2022. So anyway, yeah, he was gonna be tried for this murder, and then he died. So that's another creepy case, okay? And then I was thinking of another one that was bizarre too. And I grew up in the Rogue Valley here in Southern Oregon. And when I was a traditional college-age student, I tried, I didn't finish, but I tried to be a student at then Southern Oregon State College. It's now called Southern Oregon University. And I was so, I don't know, I was just so airheaded and stuff. And I didn't take my studies seriously, so I ended up dropping out. And then later, when I moved to Nevada, I got my degree, my undergrad and graduate degrees down there and stuff. But back 50 years ago, when I was a student, I had this college teacher who was a political science teacher, and his name was Dennis Walker. And he was, he was pretty smart. I don't remember a whole lot. I don't even remember the course I took. I think it was probably American politics of some kind. And it may have been like, Poli-Sci 101 or something like that I took. But I don't remember much about it, but I do remember the name. And I remember how he looked. And then that was that. I took the class, and I think it was only one class, got through that, and then I ended up down in Nevada, and apparently he quit his job at around 1980 or something. This little segment here on Unsolved Mysteries from way back, probably 35 years ago, with Robert Stack was in it, and they talked about this case. So I was in Reno, and I would come up to Oregon and stuff and visit the family. And I might have actually, the first time I might have been even aware of this, well, you know what? I was up here, and I remember seeing that National Sports Museum that Dennis Walker had founded. And that was at a bank building, and now it's a bank building again. It's the Chase Bank. It's in the south end of Medford. But he had that building, and he put his prize sports memorabilia. He had, they said, about $10 million worth of sports memorabilia that he had. And there was some really valuable stuff. I mean, world class. He probably had about the best, or one of the best collections in the United States. He never talked about that when he was teaching. I never knew anything that he was a major collector. But he had kind of a shady reputation and stuff, a little dodgy. So anyway, investigators, the state investigators, local investigators, they looked into his operation, and they were giving him a lot of legal problems. So he ended up folding the business, and apparently none of the investors who were involved in that actually complained about it. But anyway, he just figured, the hell with it. I'll just go ahead and take my collection. So he took his collection, and that it was collections that the investors also had invested in, and they figured they were going to get all their money back because it was so valuable. But that ain't what happened. And he took it, and he took off, and nobody ever saw most of the collection ever again. Some of that has since been recovered, but most of it has not. So it probably got sold on the black market or something. So he drives off into the sunset, and then a couple of years later, they find him. Cops find him in Vegas hotel room, and he's dead. And apparently he had some pills there. So I don't know. It's kind of mysterious. I don't know if they ever said whether he was murdered or whether he committed suicide or whatever. But anyway, the memorabilia, only a portion of it ever was recovered. But just to think, that's another weird-ass case. That's another one. That involving somebody who was an acquaintance. Or, just with Chirilla and with McNabney, they were just, they were patrons. They weren't friends. They weren't anything. They were just patrons. And then this guy, Walker, had been a college professor of mine. So, you go through life and you think about this stuff. And, man, you come across some real characters. And I thought, well, I'm just going to talk about this random shit tonight. And I ain't getting very many hits here lately because I know they're messing. YouTube is messing with the algorithms. But I thought, I've got to talk a little bit about this stuff because it's been on my mind. And how strange it is. It's really a damn small world when you think about it. All the people I've met, the famous people I've met, the infamous people I've met, it's a damn small world. And, anyway, on that note, and I got to take a shower and get ready, try to go to work tomorrow. I hope we don't have to. But on that weird note, I'm going to call it good.